Hi, Chapman Steve with another video, and I'm going to stick with one more story. Guardian Angel story, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And this one is based on the chapel meeting that we had. And I thought it was kind of a unique story. And it has to take place in World War II, about a fighter pilot. And it happened to be just one patient was in the hospital telling a story about his uncle who was a fighter pilot in the Battle of Midway. And as the uncle was describing the story, that he was a fighter pilot, and he was in combat with all these Japanese pilots, but there was one Japanese plane that was behind him, kept shooting at him. He was trying to evade him. So this went on for some period of time, and finally, the Japanese pilot was successful and shot his plane down. So he's going down. The uncle was explaining he's going down, and he's looking at the picture. Most of the pilots had their the family photograph of their wives, whatever, their girlfriend. And he's going down, and he managed to get the plane to kind of level off on the water, and he was able to get the cockpit, but the plane really sank very fast. So he didn't have his life preserver, so he was in trouble, but he did have some training how to survive in the water. So he's in the water, he's treading water, he's getting on his back, and he's under his training he learned how to do that, and he's looking at the distance, and he sees a ship starting to come towards him. So, that was the good news, but the bad news was that this went on for some period of time. He was really tired. He was worn out. He had his strength was just really becoming, he just didn't have enough to keep going. He wasn't sure if he was going to make it or not. And sure enough, the ship was coming closer to him to rescue him, and he didn't think he was going to make it. He knew in a short period of time he was going to go under. He was going to go down. He was going to drown. And so, and he was a proud man, from what I understand. The uncle was a proud man. Didn't want to ask God for help. Didn't want to ask, because other people, all in the time of need, they always ask God for help. And he didn't want to do that. But his time of need was now, because his life was at stake. So he asked God. So as the story goes, about a minute later, there was an orange light underneath him. And a vast amount of bubbles came up. And this golden light just came up, and what it was doing was supporting him, keeping him up for some period of time. And this boat was so far away distance, so maybe even a half hour, these bubbles kept coming up, kept keeping him afloat. There was no, he didn't have to use any strength whatsoever. He just kept him afloat all this time. So finally, the boat got close to him. They sent a little boat out to get him, and they rescued him. And two of the sailors noticed that there was some sort of a light underneath the water, and they were going to ask the question a little bit later, but basically he got rescued, got on the big cruiser ship, and he was in the medical, and so they were taking care of him because he was exposed to water a pretty long period of time, but he was in pretty good health considering. And the two sailors came up to him and said, "What was that light underneath your? What was going on with that?" And he tried to explain to him that he asked God for help. So you got to understand, this is World War II. And he's trying to explain to them what happened. And we talked about this before, that sometimes it's very hard to explain when you have certain kind of circumstances like that. It's very hard, and also the people believe it. But they saw this golden light, so there was some credence to this whole story about him. But the uncle, from what I understand, was deeply affected by this incident. He felt that there was God was with him, or there was a guardian angel who was working, and all these bubbles kept him afloat for almost a half hour. Just kept coming up. And so that was the whole story, but it was a interesting story. And as I said, the uncle was deeply affected by it. It changed his life forever. His relationship with his wife, his kids, everything. It just had a totally different outlook. But anyway, I thought this story was interesting, and I wanted to just want to share with you, all these bubbles. I just found that interesting how that, but when we talked about this before, there's all kinds of circumstances, conditions, circumstances that the guardian angels seem to help in one way or another, and they're always there to help you one way or another. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and sign off here at this point, but I wanted to share this story with you because I thought it was interesting, and just wanted to share with you. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and sign off here, but I appreciate your time. And as I always do, I hope your day is going well. And again, thanks for watching this video. Until the next video. Thanks very much. Appreciate your time.